Today, we are diving into the 7 worst motorcycles that only the stupidest people buy. And you will not believe number 1. At number 7, we have the Harley-Davidson Fat Boy 1990. When Harley-Davidson first released the Fat Boy in 1990, it quickly became a fan favorite due to its bold design. With its signature solid disc wheels, low-slung frame, and muscular appearance, the Fat Boy has often been hailed as a symbol of Harley's dominant cruiser design. Its striking looks made it an instant hit and cemented its place as a beloved model in Harley's lineup. The bike even became famous in pop culture thanks to its feature in numerous movies and television shows. However, behind the bike's striking looks, there were a few glaring issues that many riders wish they had known about before purchasing. First off, the handling was less than stellar. The Fat Boy was powered by the Evolution V-twin engine, delivering around 58 horsepower and 85 pound-feet of torque. While this power might have been adequate for cruising, it lacked the punch that many riders craved for more spirited riding. The bike's weight, which tipped the scales at over 700 pounds, made cornering or maneuvering in tight spaces a challenge. For a motorcycle that's supposed to exude freedom and agility, this lack of maneuverability left many riders frustrated. The ride quality was another letdown. Despite its premium price tag, the Fat Boy didn't provide the smooth, comfortable ride that was expected. The suspension, while upgraded compared to previous models, felt too stiff, especially on longer rides. On bumpy roads, the ride quality could be jarring, making it hard to enjoy long-distance cruising. Moreover, the bike suffered from electrical issues, with unreliable wiring leading to frequent trips to the shop for repairs. The Fat Boy also had limited customization options, leaving many riders feeling stuck with its signature look. While Harley-Davidson is known for its custom-friendly bikes, the Fat Boy's design made it more challenging to modify. In conclusion, while the Harley-Davidson Fat Boy 1990 to 1999 is a popular and iconic motorcycle, its heavy weight, bad ride quality, and mechanical problems made it a frustrating option for many riders. If you're looking for a smoother, more reliable ride, this is one Harley you might want to steer clear of. And if you think the Fat Bob was a flop, wait until you hear about the next bike. Coming up is a Harley-Davidson that tried to reimagine what a touring bike should be, but failed spectacularly. Number 6. Harley-Davidson V-Rod. The V-Rod debuted in the early 2000s, and it was supposed to be Harley-Davidson's answer to sportier, more performance-oriented bikes like the Yamaha V-Max and Ducati Monsters. It was built around Harley's all-new liquid-cooled 60-degree Revolution engine, co-developed with Porsche. Yes, Porsche, with a 11,030 cubic centimeters engine cranking out 100 horsepower, it was undeniably powerful. But here's the problem. It just wasn't a Harley in spirit. The design? Completely unconventional. The V-Rod looked more like a futuristic space bike than a traditional Harley-Davidson. It came with a sleek, drag-inspired frame, an aluminum body, and a modern look that felt out of place for anyone who craved that classic Harley charm. The styling didn't sit well with Harley's loyal customers who loved the chunky, iconic design of their V-twin cruisers, not a bike that looked more suited for the racetrack than the open road. And then there were the performance issues. While the V-Rod's engine was impressive, it wasn't designed with Harley's signature low-end torque in mind. The bike's top-end performance was great for straight-line speed, but it lacked the raw, rumbling power and torque that Harley fans cherished. Riders expecting that classic Harley rumble were greeted with a smoother, more refined engine sound, one that just didn't feel right. On top of that, the V-Rod's handling was often criticized. The frame was lightweight, but the bike's high center of gravity made it a challenge to maneuver, especially at low speeds. It wasn't the smooth, easy riding experience most Harley riders were used to. It required a different kind of skill and approach. But perhaps the biggest issue with the V-Rod? It simply didn't appeal to the Harley demographic it was meant for. Harley fans were looking for cruisers, not modern performance machines. And sport bike riders? They saw it as too heavy, too bulky, and not sporty enough. Despite the hype, the V-Rod was discontinued in 2017, and even with all its performance stats and new tech, it failed to capture the hearts of Harley's core riders. And if you thought the V-Rod was an oddball, wait until you hear about the next bike. Number 5. Harley-Davidson FXDR 114. The FXDR was powered by the Milwaukee 8 114 engine with a displacement of 18,000 5,068 cubic centimeters and a torque rating of 119 pound-feet. The numbers were impressive, no doubt about that. It was fast, it was powerful, and it had the promise of a serious performance machine. But that's where the good news ends. First of all, the bike's design was so far removed from what most Harley riders were used to, it was like Harley was trying to cater to an entirely different audience. With its sleek, angular bodywork, massive rear tire, and exaggerated front end, the FXDR looked more like a futuristic sport bike than a traditional cruiser. For die-hard Harley fans who love the classic styling of bikes like the Softail or the Road King, the FXDR was an eyesore. It didn't have the familiar lines, the rugged look, or the iconic Harley soul that riders had come to expect. Then there were the rideability issues. While it had all the performance stats on paper, the FXDR just wasn't practical. The aggressive forward foot controls, low-slung frame, and wide rear tire made it an absolute pain to handle in city traffic or tight spots. And it wasn't just a struggle in the city. On winding roads and twisty back streets, the bike felt sluggish and unwieldy, especially for riders used to the agility of more traditional cruisers. Even on long rides, the bike wasn't exactly comfortable. Its riding position was more suited to straight-line speed than comfort or handling, and for the majority of riders, that wasn't what they were looking for in a Harley. And then, the biggest issue, price. The FXDR debuted with a hefty price tag of $18,999. For that price, you could get a Road Glide, a Softail, or even a fully customized cruiser with better comfort, better handling, and better resale value. The FXDR, though, was stuck in an awkward middle ground. Too much of a performance machine for most cruiser riders, and not enough of a sport bike to tempt those looking for high-end performance. Despite its aggressive styling and impressive engine, the FXDR never found a true fan base. It ended up as one of Harley's most niche models, and dealerships struggled to move these bikes. Harley eventually discontinued the FXDR in 2020, and if you walk into a dealership today, you'll likely find huge discounts on leftover models just to clear out the stock. But if you think the FXDR was a flop, wait until you hear about number 4. It's a bike that was supposed to revolutionize touring, but instead it left riders wishing for anything but this. Stay tuned. Number 4. Harley-Davidson Sportster 1200T. When Harley introduced the Sportster 1200T, they marketed it as a touring-oriented version of the classic Sportster, complete with saddlebags, a larger windshield, and a more comfortable seat. But the truth is, this bike just couldn't deliver on its promises. With a 1,200 cubic centimeters air-cooled engine, it was expected to handle long rides with ease, but the small frame and limited storage space made it uncomfortable for extended trips. Riders quickly realized that while the Sportster had the appearance of a touring bike, it lacked many of the key features that touring enthusiasts expect. The seat wasn't anywhere near as comfortable as other touring models, and the wind protection from the small windshield was laughable at highway speeds. On top of that, the bike's suspension was more suited for city cruising than for long-distance riding, leaving riders with a bumpy and uncomfortable experience on anything other than smooth roads. But it wasn't just the comfort issues that turned people away. The Sportster also had serious power limitations. The powerful engine was a decent performer for everyday commuting and weekend cruises. It simply wasn't up to the task of long-distance touring. For the price, riders could have chosen a bigger, more capable touring bike like the Road King or the Street Glide, both of which offered much better performance, comfort, and storage capacity. Even the styling of the Sportster seemed confused. Harley was trying to blend the sporty looks of the Sportster with the practical elements of a touring bike, but it ended up feeling like neither. It was too cramped to be a comfortable touring bike, yet too heavy for the nimbleness that Sportster riders love. To make matters worse, the price tag of the Sportster was almost as high as that of a full-fledged touring bike, but without the features to justify the cost. But in the end, it was a failed experiment. It couldn't satisfy touring riders, and it didn't bring anything new or exciting to the Sportster lineup. For that reason, it has become one of the bikes that most riders avoid when shopping for a Harley. And if you thought the Sportster was a disappointment, wait until you see number 3, a bike that had all the potential in the world but was doomed from the start. Stay tuned. Number 3. Harley-Davidson FXR Super Glide 2. When Harley introduced the FXR Super Glide, they aimed to create a performance cruiser that appealed to a more modern rider, someone who wanted power, comfort, and handling in one package. Powered by the Harley-Davidson shovelhead engine and the solid FXR chassis, the Super Glide was marketed as a bike that could handle both twisty roads and long-distance rides. With its wide, comfortable seat, sportier frame, and reliable V-twin power, it seemed like a solid option for anyone who wanted more than just a typical cruiser. However, the bike's reputation quickly soured due to its identity crisis. The Super Glide was caught between being a classic cruiser and a performance-oriented motorcycle, and in doing so, it struggled to satisfy the demands of either camp. Traditional Harley riders who were used to the laid-back, simple cruisers of the era didn't gravitate toward the FXR's more modern, aggressive stance. On the other hand, riders who were looking for a true performance bike found that the FXR didn't have the handling and power they expected from a sportier machine. One of the biggest flaws was the bike's suspension. While it was better than the older, rigid frame models, the Super Glide still wasn't equipped with the kind of advanced suspension system that could compete with the best in the market. The stock suspension was known for being stiff and unsophisticated, which affected ride quality and cornering performance. Riders who expected superior handling for aggressive riding quickly became frustrated with the bike's poor feedback on the road. Another issue was the overall reliability of the engine. The shovelhead engine, while iconic, was notorious for having maintenance-heavy issues such as frequent oil leaks, poor sealing, and weak valves. This made the Super Glide more of a maintenance headache than a carefree cruiser. Add to that the fact that the bike was not as well engineered for custom builds as other models, and you had a bike that couldn't quite live up to the expectations set by Harley's marketing. What really sealed the Super Glide 2's fate was its mixed appeal. While some riders appreciated its performance-oriented nature, it simply didn't hold up as either a top-tier cruiser or a competitive sport bike. Many riders found it to be a jack of all trades, but master of none. This meant the Super Glide didn't hold strong resale value and was often left in the shadows of Harley's more successful models. In the end, the Super Glide was a bike that never truly found its audience. While it had good bones and solid potential, the combination of poor handling, engine reliability issues, and a lack of customization options meant it was eventually overshadowed by more refined and iconic Harley models. Its failure to meet expectations in both performance and cruising comfort left it as one of the more regrettable bikes in Harley's history. If you that this bike was bad, well, wait until you hear about the next bike. Number 2. Harley-Davidson FLH 1200 Electra Glide. The FLH Electra Glide was marketed as a premium touring bike designed to provide comfort and convenience for long-distance riders. With its full front fairing, large saddlebags, and integrated dashboard, it looked like the perfect choice for those who wanted to cruise the highways in style. But underneath that flashy exterior, the bike had one serious problem: reliability. One of the most significant issues with the FLH was its engine. Powered by the shovelhead 1200 cubic centimeters V-twin, the engine was prone to constant oil leaks, a common problem with shovelhead engines during this period. It wasn't unusual for owners to find their garage floor covered in oil spots after just a few rides. The engine also had a tendency to overheat, especially on long rides, which often led to the bike stalling or becoming unsafe to ride. This made the Electra Glide far less reliable than Harley's reputation would suggest. The suspension was another area where the FLH failed to impress. Despite being marketed as a touring bike, the suspension system struggled to absorb bumps and rough patches of road. Riders quickly realized that what was supposed to be a smooth, comfortable ride often turned into a bumpy and uncomfortable experience. The bike's heavy frame, around 700 pounds, combined with the poor suspension, made handling and maneuverability difficult, particularly at low speeds or on winding roads. And let's not forget about the electrical issues. The 1971 Electra Glide was one of the first Harleys to feature an electric start, but it was plagued with problems from the beginning. The electrical system frequently malfunctioned, and the bike's ignition system often failed, leaving riders stranded in the middle of nowhere. This was a huge letdown for a bike that was marketed as a touring motorcycle, as riders expected reliable performance, especially when they were traveling long distances. Even more frustrating was the poor quality control during production. Many FLH Electra Glides were shipped out of the factory with poorly aligned panels, misfitting parts parts and poorly constructed components. This gave the bike a cheap, unfinished look that didn't match up to the premium price tag. Riders who had paid top dollar for a Harley touring bike were disappointed to find themselves dealing with constant repairs and maintenance. Despite these glaring issues, the Electra Glide had a loyal following, mainly due to its iconic styling and the appeal of owning a Harley. However, for the price and the constant mechanical failures, many riders began to regret their decision, and some even sold their bikes within just a year of ownership. Harley eventually fixed many of these issues in later models, but for those who bought the Electra Glide during its initial run, it was a painful experience. If you thought the FLH Electra Glide was a rough ride, just wait until you hear about number 1, the ultimate Harley-Davidson disaster. Stay tuned. Number 1. Harley-Davidson Roadster 1200. The Roadster was introduced as a slightly sportier, more aggressive take on the traditional Sportster model. Featuring a 1200 cubic centimeters Evolution V twin engine, it promised more horsepower and a responsive ride for those who wanted something that could handle twisty roads and city streets with ease. The Roadster came equipped with a set of high-performance suspension components, including dual disc brakes and longer travel suspension, which was marketed as ideal for riders looking for a combination of sporty handling and Harley's iconic low-slung cruiser style. However, the Roadster quickly became known for its uncomfortable ride and handling quirks. Despite the better suspension components, many riders found the bike to be surprisingly stiff, particularly on long rides. The suspension's performance didn't quite match the bike's sporty look. Many owners reported that the ride was jarring on rougher pavement, and the bike's handling didn't feel as agile as they hoped, especially considering the aggressive posture it encouraged. It was a bike that didn't quite nail the balance between comfort and performance. Another significant flaw, the Roadster's ergonomics. Harley-Davidson marketed it as a versatile motorcycle that could be used for both short city jaunts and longer, more adventurous rides. But many riders found the upright, somewhat forward-leaning riding position to be awkward for longer rides, especially given the lack of options for customizing the handlebars or foot controls. It wasn't comfortable enough for long hauls, and it wasn't nimble enough to be a true sporty motorcycle in the traditional sense. While the Roadster was built for riders who wanted a little more excitement than a regular cruiser, it didn't appeal to those looking for a true sport bike or a comfortable touring bike. It straddled two worlds but failed to excel in either. To make matters worse, it wasn't as custom-friendly as many Harley riders would have liked. The bike's styling and frame didn't lend themselves easily to customization, leaving many owners feeling limited when it came to adding personal touches. When it came to resale, the Roadster didn't fare much better. It wasn't a top seller, and its niche appeal meant that many riders who were interested in it quickly moved on to other, more well-rounded Harley models like the Sportster Iron or the 48. Both of which offered better performance and more customization options for less money. The Roadster's initial high price tag, combined with its mid-range performance, made it a tough sell for both new and used buyers. In the end, the Roadster failed to live up to the hype. It promised a unique blend of sport and cruiser, but it struggled to deliver the balance that riders were hoping for, leaving many feeling like they were better off with one of Harley's other models. So there you have it, 7 Harley-Davidson motorcycles that you might want to think twice about before adding them to your garage. Have you ever ridden any of these bikes, or do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more motorcycle content. Thanks for watching, and as always, ride safe.